Hey everybody, it's your girl Angela Kotz here with Ghost Hunting Beauties, and today we've got a doozy of a show for you. If you've ever been in San Antonio, Texas, or haunted areas, these are the guys you need to meet. All right, everybody. So we are here with the Curious Paranormal Twins. We have got Fred and Steven. Hi, guys.
Hey there.
I have had the pleasure of meeting these guys in person, seeing them in action. And usually, when they're in action, they are busy. They are all over the place. But they came highly recommended to us with everything that they do. And I wanted to start off with saying that, man, if you are in the San Antonio, Texas area, or you want to go on a haunted tour, these two are who you need to book with right here. I mean, it's never going to be a dull moment, especially in San Antonio. So, guys, tell me more about what you do.
Yeah, we started in 2017, and we started because we loved ghost tours, and we every time we would go to a city, we would check out a ghost tour, and we realized that we loved it so much we wanted to do it, and we also realized that there was a lot of stories that weren't being told, some stories that were being forgotten. There was just so much history that we wanted to nerd out to, and so we started Curious Twins because of that, and it's been a lot of fun.
That is awesome. So, how did you come up with the name? I was like when y'all said twins, I was expecting twins, and then I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, a lot of people get confused about that, but we did name it in honor of our moms.
Oh,
So my mom is a twin and his mom is a twin. And when we met, we realized that. And so we wanted to name our company after our moms, but also we thought curious is a really fun approach to the paranormal because, a lot of people think that the paranormal can be spooky or scary or
right.
off-putting, but for us it's really about curiosity. It's about wanting to learn a little bit more, wanting to get our fingers wet a little bit and get into the paranormal with a little bit of curiosity.
Oh, for sure, for sure. That's why I love you guys, because there's a lot of spooky stuff, but there's also a lot of history that you guys tell. I don't know how you memorize it all. I mean, y'all have so much information. I'm sitting there going, how do you remember all that? I mean, I was lucky to come take the tour as well at the Victoria Black Swan Inn. So that was really neat. Now that's another haunted location. So tell me about your tours there. Well, how did you get even connected with Victoria's Black Swan Inn?
Well, it was an accident, to be honest. We actually had started our company, and we had created a contract with a home in King William district here in the neighborhood, or here in San Antonio, and they had some issues with the house, and they had all kinds of things, and we had a tour scheduled, and we needed to find a place to do it. We had people that were interested, and so we reached out to Joe at Victoria's Black Swan a little last minute, and we've become wonderful friends ever since.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So it was kind of like destiny. You just didn't know that you were meant to be the tour guide.
The spirits brought us there. The spirits brought us there.
I believe that. So how long have you both been involved with the paranormal? So I guess I'll let you guys take turn is how long? I mean, a lot of people say it's when childhood, adult, or was this something that you always knew?
Yeah, for me, it was always a fascination. It was always something that I was kind of interested in. I grew up in a household with three older brothers, and they would always try to scare me. And
oh, don't you hate that?
yeah, but for me, at one point, it became kind of a challenge. Like, okay, well, I can scare myself. That it'd be a safe thing,
Right.
and I don't have to worry about my brothers scaring me anymore.
There you go.
So,
be brave.
Exactly. And so I, digested every horror movie, every, gothic fiction, everything.
Oh, wow.
That I could.
Like, horror?
Yeah, like poetry, literature, everything that I could, because I wanted to kind of brave the scary parts of our world. And, that turned into unsolved mysteries and
Oh, yeah.
everything that had to do with the paranormal. I was just really into and really loving it. And then when I met Fred, I realized that we both had this kind of mutual fascination and respect for the paranormal.
Yeah.
Very nice. Oh, so that's another fate coming together. The spirits bringing you guys together.
Definitely.
I love that. So how did you get started then?
So for me, when I was a kid, I probably about 3.5, I started having dreams and visions and seeing things and knowing things were going to happen. And I think I also had a lot of things that I really couldn't understand, or, as a kid. And I was always curious about understanding those things. And so, when Unsolved Mysteries came out, like, I was glued to it. I thought maybe there's clues there to understand things that I experienced. And so I've been really just curious about the things as a child that I experienced, trying to explain those. And along the way, of course, meeting a lot of folks that have dealt with those things, have their own traumas because of those, and just kind of think, okay, these are my folks.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So you fit right in, even from 3.5. Oh my goodness. Do you remember your first premonition?
Yeah, I do. I was asleep. I woke up and kind of in this like dreamy haze. I remember getting up, looking for my grandparents who raised me, couldn't find them, and their closet. And I opened that door and I like saw another world in there. It was like the other side, very much. And one of those figures on the other side was my great grandmother. And I knew at that time she was going. I just had this feeling. I just knew this, and I tried to explain it. And I had this dream over and over. And I was actually, I had this date that was in my head.
Whoa, that's specific.
When she was going to die, and it was right after Christmas. It was a couple of days after Christmas, on the 29th of December. And I remember telling my grandparents, this is going to happen. I know this. And they're just like, just
they don't know what to do with it.
And it did happen. It happened exactly the way I saw it. And I think that at that moment, I think I was upset and scared as a kid. I couldn't really understand that. But then my great grandmother, over time, I saw her. Got these comforting messages from her. And I think I learned to trust it just a little more that way.
Right. Did it give you a lot of comfort knowing that you saw the veil becoming thinner so that you knew there was something on the other side?
No,
no.
I
think
never mind. Is that it was very, it was really scary. I was a kid, and I just didn't really understand it. And it took me a long time to understand. And I think because of, being a questioning kid, I question everything. And I still do that to this day. I'm very curious, yeah.
Definitely. Oh man, that had to be scary at first, especially like that's not the first thing you want to, have a premonition. You're like, you want to see winning the lotto or something cool.
Yeah, that hasn't happened.
Oh man, but that's really fascinating. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I know that had to be really, really tough, but so you guys got together, fate brought y'all together, and that inspired you to start your tour company. So tell me, how does your gifts play into these tours? When you're giving these tours, do you sense things? Do you know things?
Yes. So I definitely do sense things. I feel things occasionally, we'll see something even on a tour. I think there have been instances where I remind people, hey, we're tour guides. We, things happen that we can't explain. So we react, please forgive us. And I've been in a situation in Yorktown. I think y'all have investigated Yorktown.
Oh, yeah.
In a situation where I had a group of about 30 people right behind me, and they were just shortly, coming out of the kitchen area and following me out into the main hallway. And where there was a wheelchair there, I very clearly saw an elderly gentleman sitting there. And, I could see him. I could see him sitting there for a second. And he stretched out his face like he was yawning. And you know how when the saliva just kind of hangs out.
Oh, no.
I just remember just kind of being grossed out. And then I remember it just not being there. And I had to, and I think I kind of gasped, but I just kind of had to act like, oh, this is really cool,
man. So we're drooling in the afterlife? Oh, no.
Yeah, it's an experience that I think that sometimes goes back to me of, how vivid something can be, when we experience it, and it can seem very, very real, like even something as real as stretched saliva, but we do experience sometimes things. And we've also experienced weird things like people bringing snakes or weird things on tours. And So we've had a lot of cool experience, not just the spirits, but we've also had some interesting human and animal responses
Oh
too.
my gosh. I heard there was a snake in Yorktown, but I didn't get to see him. I heard there was a huge snake. I was looking for him. He was failing at his job because there were rats. And I was like, okay, so the snake is gone or he is slacking.
Yeah. Well, it was cold, so we're hoping maybe, he's just hiding.
Right, exactly. Have you ever seen him on tour? Like you've actually seen him?
I have seen him.
No way.
Like, like if you know where the nurse's station is in that area. So.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Yorktown was a whole new experience. Now,
Sure.
I was just sad because I didn't get to see the snake because I thought that would have been a really great jump scare for the show because I would have probably levitated and then we would have that on film.
Sure. Did you get a raccoon by any chance?
Not even a raccoon.
Okay.
I saw where they went. We had an Arctic freeze, so it was 19 degrees and every animal disappeared. I mean, what we saw was the inhuman stuff. I would have rather seen a raccoon, a buzzard, a snake, anything other than what we saw. Man, so is Victoria's Black Swan Inn, that's where your main tours go to or the Yorktown?
Yeah. So, we are all over, so I would say, we're part of us at Yorktown, part of us is at Victoria's Black Swan Inn. We're also in King William. We're at the cemetery a lot. We're everywhere, really. We just enjoy sharing as much as we can. And we always look for cool properties and places to take people to investigate, So we're a little bit of everywhere.
Oh yeah, I saw you guys do the true crime at the Riverwalk as well. So even if people aren't interested in the paranormal, like just going for the true crime aspect, I mean, you got to be curious. Come on. So you got to tell me without giving away anything on the tour. Tell me a little bit about how the Riverwalk is haunted or has some true crime aspect.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead?
Sure. Well, the Riverwalk is really rich in history. And it goes really all the way back to our indigenous populations in San Antonio and some of the practices that they had and the belief systems that they had really, dive into why we believe that the city is so haunted. But if you also think about, parapsychologists and what they believe about running bodies of water, if you have a constant source of water, that's a constant source of energy and potentially that is feeding into the paranormal. And so we like to compare San Antonio to places like New Orleans and Savannah, who are adjacent to large bodies of water.
Very true. The conduit.
Exactly. And so if you think about some of the most haunted places in San Antonio, places like the Missions or Main Plaza downtown, or even Victoria's Black Swan Inn adjacent to the Salado Creek. These are all places that are known to be very, very haunted and are adjacent to the river and creek system that we have. Wow. And so that's a big part of what we share with our Riverwalk tours. But there are some really fascinating stories connected to the river that we also share too.
Man. So they better book right now so they can get these stories. I know that next time I'm coming in, I haven't gotten to take your tour there yet, so I can't wait. So I don't want to give it away, so people have to go book right now. So what do you think also makes the Riverwalk haunted? Like, is there some kind of energy that just is attracted to you guys, or is there something that's just always been there?
I think there's been something there forever. The indigenous people, the word that they have for our river is Yanawan. And when we translate that, it translates to spirit waters or refreshing water. This idea has been there. In fact, they believed it was a deity. They believed that all life sprung from that. They buried their dead along it. There is this culture of the rivers and creeks that really are very much alive. I think there was even a belief that if you died on one side of the creek or the river in San Antonio, you would never cross the other side. You were going to stay on that side because you would protect it. You would ensure its beauty and its longevity. Your spirit would live on in that beauty. And I think that, when we think about that in terms of, a living spirit, that's definitely one of those that we have to look at. I think the other thing about the Riverwalk is that this has been since 1968 when we had the World's Fair come into San Antonio. It has been a place where tourists have flocked to. And There have been tons of hotels. There have been people who have committed suicides in these hotels, have murdered lovers, have done horrible and unthinkable things, even things that go back to, the Mexican mafia and these kinds of things. So I think when we have a place of, such beauty, it is going to attract also a dark underside. And I think that's what we see.
Imagine how it used to look. I mean, before we had all the buildings and everything there. So I'm sure it used to look magnificent.
Yeah, it's always been a beautiful place of natural beauty. A lot of our creeks and rivers have natural springs. So you're hiking along, see those little bubbles. It's a gorgeous place. And, if I was a spirit, I would want to haunt it too.
Oh, me too. Me too. I have to go back on the river walk. That was one of the first places as a child I remember a family vacation. We didn't take very many family vacations. We didn't have any money, but we always went to the river walk. And I remember going, this is so cool. I mean, it's truly, truly beautiful. I mean, even now, so I can't imagine back then.
I love that.
Love it. Love it. So you take people on all these tours. You've got Victoria's Black Swan Inn. You've got Yorktown. You've got the Riverwalk. Has anybody seen anything while they were on your tour?
Well, one of the little girl is one of our favorites.
Oh, yeah. So we did a private tour a couple of years ago, and this was a King William tour. So the King William Historic District just south of downtown. And it was for a birthday party for, I would say, maybe a 10-year-old. And they were a group of young kids who were really interested in the paranormal with their parents.
At 10? That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really great. And the parents were very supportive. And we did some experiments with tools, and, we brought out dowsing rods and taught them how to use them.
Neat. That's so cool.
Yeah. And there's one location that we share where there is a story of a little girl who drowned by the river or in the river. And before we get to that spot, to that location, we haven't shared any of the history or stories yet of that location. And there's a little girl who is kind of gazing into the river. And we asked her, what are you looking at? And she said, there's a little girl who drowned in the river.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
And so she continues to tell us about how she's able to connect and communicate with this little girl. And we're, as the tour guides, really, really taken aback because we were just about to tell this story about this little girl.
And you're like, and take it away.
Exactly. And so that was a really interesting moment. But here and there have been people who tell us, I got touched. I felt like a heaviness in my chest.
Oh, yeah.
I felt something when I went into this area. We've had all types of people tell us about really interesting experiences that they've had, from, true believers to even skeptics who, for the first time ever, they finally have that proof that there's something other than them out there.
Oh, yeah. Skeptics are fun. A lot of people usually get mad at skeptics. I love skeptics because I want them to tell me I'm wrong. We had, even on the Yorktown, someone said, oh, there's nothing at Yorktown. And I said, stay the night. I was like, that's all I ask. Stay the night by yourself. If nothing's there, don't worry. Stay the night.
Yes.
That's really cool. So that has to be the coolest birthday party ever. Like, I wish that I could have had friends that were that cool, that would have loved my paranormal. Instead, they just said, Mom, I don't want to stay at her house anymore.
Yeah.
That's what happens, like growing up with gifts, growing up in a haunted house, man. So all these tours and all these things. So now, is the King William's tour something new or something y'all just added, or?
No, we've actually offered it since pretty much the beginning of our offerings. We don't do it every week. What we do is we do it once a month. We do it once a month, and we work with a Masonic Lodge. It's in King William, and it's a beautiful home built in the 1890s. It was, a home of a physician that was very well known in town, Julius Bronicle, and it's been converted since the 1950s into a lodge, and they've had all kinds of interesting things. Its backyard is the river, and just a really rich history. So, we do it once a month, and we also really love this particular location. We're kind of nerds about San Antonio's red light district. And there are some there are a couple of little, I guess, arrows that point to this house of being of interest to the red light district. And so it's definitely one that we like to share. And we also like to, share the little bit of red light district history in King William, because there is a connection there too.
Very neat. It's like, man, there's so many questions I want to ask without giving away any of the tour stuff, because I want people to be interested just enough to book with you.
You can ask anything, though.
Okay,
Don't feel,
good.
yeah. Even if we divulge a little information, there's still so much out there.
I'm telling you, man, that is so neat. So out of all the tours that you've done, so what is your favorite place if you had to pick one for all the places that you give tours?
You first.
My favorite place for tours is really the cemetery. I love City Cemetery #1. I think it's a really romantic walk. I think that there's so much history there, and there's so many stories to tell just in that one cemetery. And it's just really beautiful. It's a really beautiful spot, and we get to tour it at sunset often, so we get to see the sun setting on all these gravestones, and it's just, there's just so many stories there to tell, and we're just really excited and honored, really, that we get to share that history with the public and with people who are genuinely wanting to learn more about it.
See, that's how I know you're my people, because you love cemeteries. Because I spend too much time there, and people are like, "That's strange," and I'm like, Dolly Parton loves cemeteries too. I'm just saying. So
yeah. For sure. And I would have to agree. The cemetery tour is a treat. It's quiet. And I'm a sucker for quiet parts of nature,
Me too.
But there's so much. There's just so much there. The history, the symbols. I'm a big nerd for cemetery symbols. And so I can spend all day just going through symbols, going through those things, teaching about those. I think sometimes we're so excited about the cemetery tour that we're a little nerdy,
Oh, I love it.
Just because we just really we adore it, and we've come to know these folks that are buried there and share their stories,
right?
and it's just like we feel them. It's not just their stories and the land; it's them that's there with us. I think a lot of times.
Oh yeah, probably they're glad to have someone come visit them. I think that's just my theory on it.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, is there anyone famous in that cemetery?
Oh, well, the Mavericks are buried in that cemetery. Mary and Samuel Maverick, they both have a predominant place in the history of Texas. And Mary has, of course, a book that she wrote about living on the frontiers of Texas in San Antonio. Definitely, they are buried there. There is the Minger family. So if you guys anyone's familiar with the Minger Hotel here in San Antonio, they're buried there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's a cool burial there. We also have, who else is buried there that's very interesting? James, what's Tilly? No. The Mount Rushmore connection. Gosh, I can't think of their name.
I know, it's escaping me now.
So there, I can't think of his name, but the gentleman James Borglum, he is the gentleman who finished construction of Mount Rushmore, the artist kind of behind it.
Wow.
He is buried in San Antonio. So his father was the original sculptor of Mount Rushmore, but he died before he could finish sculpting it. His son, James, he took over and he finished sculpting Mount Rushmore. Yeah. And so we have the sculptor of Mount Rushmore in that cemetery. So that's a pretty famous one.
Oh, tell me that his headstone is Mount Rushmore. Is it a Mount Rushmore? No,
it's better. Oh. It's better. It is just a solid piece of stone. So he could carve it in the afterlife. That's the coolest thing. Yeah.
That is neat. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Have you made contact with him?
You know what? James Borglum is a spirit that we've never even tried. I think we just nerd out with his story that we've forgotten of even trying to. Yeah, we've never tried it. We have to.
Now I've got a new challenge for you. Next time to sit there and go, hey, man, you need to carve this. We're waiting. We're waiting for something as cool as Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
That is so neat. I mean, there's just so much in San Antonio. I think even driving in, you start to feel the energy shift and change. Like it's one of my favorite places. Like I said, all my childhood there was, of course, loving the paranormal since I was little as well, and being gifted. I'm like, yes, this is so awesome.
Yes, I love that.
So I absolutely love it. So you've given me your favorite places. So what do you think out of all those places, besides the cemetery, is the most active to where you start really feeling things or people have experiences?
Yeah, I would say the most consistently active would probably be Victoria's Black Swan Inn. That's a place that we have personally had experiences where guests have had multiple experiences. One of the really interesting things about that property is that it's not just the spirits of that property who go and visit that people can encounter and interact with.
Right.
People have gone to that property and have connected with a mother who's passed on, with an aunt who's passed on. Because of how paranormally charged the land is, it is a lot easier for people to connect with their own loved ones, which we find really fascinating.
Yeah. It's a place that we've held, several hour long, spirit box sessions that have just went, for hours. It is a place where we get consistent responses that are intelligent, sometimes that are personal. We've been called our own names there several times by spirits through the spirit box.
Oh man.
It is something that we've kind of grown with these spirits. We kind of started off at Victoria's Black Swan Inn kind of the beginning of our journey. And, we've gotten to see so many other properties since then, but it's still, by far one of the most special ones that we have experienced. And everything from full body apparitions we've experienced there to the piano playing on its own to burglaries, everything we've experienced on that property. It has been really a blessing to have experienced some of those things. And we've also gotten a lot of folks that they come on these tours and they want to see something. They want to hear something. They want to experience something. They're questioning things.
That's good, though.
And when they get that, they're just blown away, and it means something huge to them. And so we've seen like big burly men, 300 pounds, 6'4", cry because they hear a EVP for the first time there. So, it's been great. Yeah.
So it makes it worth everything that you guys do, all the time, all the devotion.
Yeah, it's a great place to tour. And, it's just a cool old house. I think that two sisters that got together and envisioned something and created it, and they're long gone, but we're still enjoying it.
Oh, yeah. I remember whenever I was first taking the tour, that's when I was trying to be quiet because I'm always trying to just observe first. I try to see if I can see anyone that's gifted, try to see if I see any spirits, but I just let it happen. And the first thing I saw was that little girl running around, and I was like, what the heck? At first I'm sitting there thinking, where is her parents? And I was like, oh, she's not actually here, sort of. Like she's here, but not. I was like, her parents are probably long gone.
Yeah.
But I still haven't figured out who that is. I don't know. You have to tell me who that is.
I believe that's Sophie. Sophie. And so Sophie was a mauler, and she lived in the family, when it was a dairy farm. And she was not a child when she died, though. She actually was in her 80s. But whatever reason, she comes back as a child. And she's even been a little bit flirty with men who have seen her.
Hopefully as an adult.
Yeah, and so it just, she is playful. She's a very playful, usually people see her. That's how I've seen her, is running and just having fun. And maybe that just says, hey, we might die at 80, but we come back when we most appreciated life. I don't know.
I think that's really a good way to look at it. Because I've always wondered that, they say that whatever suit you're wearing is your ghost suit when you come back. I was like, oh, I hope not. I really hope not. It's like, I don't want to start seeing people coming back in juicy couture and all these things. It's like, please, no. It's like my husband's going to come back in Crocs. It's like, no, it's embarrassing. I'm going to be walking away in the afterlife. Like, please, no, not the Crocs. No, but I think you're exactly right, that it's however we kind of see ourselves, the best version of ourselves, or maybe even the time when we had the most energy and spirit.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
Because that's all we are. We're energy, and our spirit is just energy transcending.
100%.
That's what I think.
Agree.
Well, that was really, really cool. Now, we personally had the experiences with Yorktown. And that was, I think y'all warned me too. I said that it's dark over there. Are you going to try it? And I was like, oh, I listened, but I was still thinking, but not me. And I was like, oh, it was me. It was a lot of stuff that was there. So you guys actually do overnights there with
Yes,
investigations. So
we
what
we
did you
do
guys come
do.
across?
So I'm going to be honest about our overnights. We used to, do a true overnight where we
Mhm.
kind of just stayed and we just have so many guests that would drop off. And so we've
Right.
never had anybody ever stay past 4 o'clock ever.
No.
Never,
Oh my gosh.
never, ever.
Rookies.
Yeah. But as far as experiences there, I'll let Steven tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah.
So we definitely, there's like a heaviness there. And I think that we always encourage our guests to take breaks because of that heaviness. And it's almost like you're lost in time in that location. But we have had everything from, hearing things to actual like pebbles being thrown at us. There was an instance where we were. Yeah, there was an instance where we were by the nurse's station and inexplicably there were these pebbles that were being kind of thrown in our direction. And we couldn't identify where they came from. We didn't know how they got there, but they were just like these little stones. And it was just very surprising to us and something that we just, to this day, have not been able to debunk.
Right, because that can't be an animal. An animal is not going to pick it up and throw it at you.
Exactly. Something that we get a lot is just really intelligent responses in like spirit boxes and using our Vox app. We get a lot of really, really intelligent interactions with the spirits who are there. We'll ask a question, get a spot on answer, and this happens for a long period of time. So that's really interesting. We've had cat balls go off really, intelligently. All types of stuff happened there at that location.
Have you seen the nuns? Have you ever seen them? Because that's what I was most terrified was that, even in real life, if I see a nun, I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. So I was like, well, how are they going to be in the afterlife? She's going to be shaking her finger at me.
I have never seen a nun. I have gotten some very real responses. I've actually gotten responses that, I started the Hail Mary and gotten little parts of that come back. I've gotten, I've gotten, what do you think of my tattoos? And many people have gotten the same thing. It's sick. Like those words, it's sick.
Oh, man.
And so we've gotten those kinds of things very, very often. There was one instance where before anyone got there one night, I had went up to their floor, the third floor, and I was, just sweeping it. I had an SLS camera and I had actually went through all 3 floors at this time and nothing had popped up on that SLS.
Right.
But I get to the nurse's station and I get to the, the convent area upstairs where the living area is. And I feel something, and I feel somebody looking at me. And so I just started saying, hey, if anyone's around, you can say hi. And I turn the corner and I see a figure just waving.
What?
And that was alarming because it's the only time I talked. The only time I talked during that walkthrough. I didn't say a word to anybody. I was just, walking through all 3 floors. I get to the last of that and I have a feeling I finally talk. And that's when something comes up.
Oh.
So, stuff
they were
like
friendly.
that.
They were waving.
Yeah. No, that time that I also told you about, that gentleman that I saw when I had a group of people. Well, that same time later on that night, I had a group of folks and they were investigating that corner where I saw that. And they had an SLS camera and there was the same, like a stick figure come up on that SLS where I saw it. It also waved.
That's neat. So you've at least got the friendly waving ghost.
Yeah, we've gotten a couple of those kinds of things. I think one of the most detailed spirit communication session that we ever had is worth sharing. First of all, I'll say that there was a lot of rumors of sexual abuse that happened with some of these nuns. There's also a rumor of, some of them needing abortions and these kinds of things. Well, in the kitchen, we started a session and we had a spirit come through. And she basically told us she was a postulant nun, which I guess is, very beginning of it. They haven't taken final vows. They're
Right.
young into it. And she was working there at the hospital and she was working in the kitchen, she said. And she had been being abused by a priest and she had come to go home to see her family. She went to go see her family on a break before she made her decision whether she was going to for sure join. And when she went home, she was with family at a lake and she drowned there. And she said that as soon as she died, she came back and she's been stuck here ever since because she believes that her salvation is connected to that priest and to the hospital. And so over the years, we've talked about this person. We've had these interactions. And recently we believe that she may have left and may have crossed over finally.
Oh, I hope so.
But that was that session that I talk about. It wasn't just one session. This happened actually in several sessions that we've had at the hospital getting these kinds of things. And I hope that spirit's crossed because it does seem that, they felt stuck. They felt stuck.
Oh, yeah. That is one theory that I have is that the only way we stay here is if we choose to stay here or feel that we're stuck.
Yeah.
We can't cross over. So it's a theory so you share that same theory as well. Definitely. Poor thing. I hope she's crossed. I saw a nurse, but it was residual haunting, which was neat because it kept replaying and she wouldn't respond. And it was like watching a TV show. And I was like, hello. See, I didn't even get a wave or anything. You're much cooler than me. You got a wave. She just kept on ignored me. It's like, this is just like being at the regular hospital. They're ignoring me. Walking on by. But yeah, that was neat because I haven't seen a residual in a while and it just kept replaying and replaying. But once we started getting more people there, we started getting scattered activity. So it was hard to focus in on, was this a camera person bumping into something? Is it a rat? Is it this? And then it was hard to really get a lot of information. Do you find that on larger tours that sometimes it's harder to focus in?
Yes, for sure. We've had a couple of large tours that they were just, everybody clicked and it was just like a symphony of everything going right, but it's few and far between.
Right.
It is, not to say that, it's, you don't get an experience, when you are in a large group, but it's harder to communicate. I think that's where I think it's just harder for spirit communication. It's harder to validate responses and to feel secure in them.
Right. That's probably why it's good to have like you said, the birthday parties or a private tour. So you can get a large group of people that you all vibe with.
Yeah.
Then you can book with you guys and then you're all kind of on the same page. And if they're all scared at the same time, it's even funnier. You're like, bye, as they run out the door. Have you had anyone completely run out the door?
Yes.
Yeah, we've actually had people book for Victoria's Black Swan Inn, go to the parking lot and leave before they even park, they leave. And they text us or call us and let us know, sorry, it's just too much for us. We can't do it.
I'm still charging them. I don't know if you still charge them. I'd still be like, I booked, this was my time. Good. Because I'd be like, that is not my fault. You knew this was a ghost tour. We did not say that this was baloney. This is a ghost tour. Have they said why they left? Did they see something?
I believe for that particular person, they just were sensitive and they felt like it was just a very heavy for them that they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right.
We've had a couple of people pass out on tours, though, from time to time.
Oh, no.
They felt something. They, and one of the most interesting one was a very healthy man. He was, probably not even 30, and he was in the military. And we were at a place where there was a riot and a mass killing of about 40 people. And at one point, before we even get into all the history, he actually pulls back because he's about to pass out and he couldn't explain it. He doesn't have any health issues. Nothing is wrong with this gentleman. He serves in the military and he does a great job at that. And so it was just kind of an alarming thing. And I think it made him more curious. I think he shared with us later that kind of opened up his door of wanting to explore this more.
That's amazing. See, that's another perk too, for especially people who are skeptical to come on a tour. And at least, like I said, at the very least, you're learning something. You're
Yep.
educating yourself. That's why I've always booked the haunted tours too. I love, oh, anywhere I go, that's the first thing I book. And of course, it's hard for anybody else to live up to y'all's guys' tours because the detail that you have. We took one in Miami and we just, I mean, the guy was reading from a sheet of paper. And
Oh
it was
no.
like almost like a little bullet point list. And he was like, this happened here, but I don't know if it did or not, but I think it did. And then this, and then we're already moving to the next location. And you know, with gifts, you want to explore a little bit deeper. And then of course, there's people that come intoxicated on tours. Have you ever had that as well?
100%.
Oh yes.
Yeah, we used to do a bar tour, and it was a lot of fun. You know, we took people to haunted bars, and we're not really drinkers though, and so it doesn't work out well for us. But you know, we would spend 2 hours babysitting, you know, groups of people, of drunk people, you know, and it's kind of fun if you know what you're getting into, but it can be a lot of work at the same time.
Oh my gosh. So the baby needs to be an extra babysitting fee on that.
Yeah.
Man, oh my gosh. So it seems like the bigger guys are the ones that are passing out and getting scared. That's interesting. It's the same with tattoos. I see that it's always the big guys are the ones that scream or they're like, oh my God, that hurt.
Yeah,
Never
all of our ladies always have it. You know, they're the ones that are a lot tougher than the guys most of the time.
See, that's why I started my show. I figured the ladies were going to be the ones screaming, and they're like, "Oh, let's climb into that." They don't even care if they're wearing heels, nails. I mean, even in Yorktown, I was going, "Please, I don't need anyone to have a tetanus shot. Don't that area is closed off." I was about to text you guys and go, "Man, I don't know what to do. How do y'all do this?" It's like I'm trying to run a show and I can't babysit everybody. Like someone needs to take care of me. So does anybody ever try to wander off on the tours though?
Yeah, that's a pretty common thing. And we, what we do is one person in the back, one person in the front. So it makes it a little easier.
Smart.
Yeah.
That is very smart. So with all the tours that you've done and all the locations you've gone to, has anything ever followed either of you home?
Yes. Yes, we've had a couple of experiences. One was at Yorktown, where we left, and this instance we were staying in Yorktown, which we don't do anymore.
I don't blame you.
But there's you know, a hotel very close by. We stayed there. Once we got back after the tour and investigation, I felt kind of sick, and Fred sensed that it was some sort of attachment, but not so much from the location, not so much from Yorktown, but from one of the guests who,
oh no, that's worse.
Who was there and who was intoxicated that night and was, you know, being a little bit foolish with the spirits who were there. And we felt like that was the connection, and that's how I was able to take something home. And we immediately did a cleansing, try to take care of it. And it was just, you know, a very short-term attachment that we were able to get rid of really fast.
Oh, good, good. The one that followed me from Yorktown was in my house probably at least a good full 2 weeks. And that's why like I said, I should have been texting you guys because I'm just at this point, I didn't want to say anything at first because even having gifts and experiencing this stuff, my first thing is maybe I'm crazy because it's like that. I really didn't hear that, you know, but I'd much rather it be a ghost than a pipe breaking or something else. So it's like, oh, it better be something haunted.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. So you do cleansings as well. So you don't just do tours. I saw that you do spiritual cleansings. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. You know, my background is a little bit in curandísimo. My great-great-grandmother was a curandera. She actually operated the Tex-Mex newsstand that served as basically a place where she would take care of clients who would do cleanses. She would read people and those kinds of things. And eventually they sold it off, and it's still around to this day. They still do cleanses. They still do card readings at this place. You can buy herbs there in Corpus Christi, Texas. You know, it is a kind of I grew up with these kinds of things. And, I remember people coming over to the house and bringing over flowers or bringing over greenery, and my grandmother doing a cleanse on them with it. Then she would take an egg and she would use that to extract any kind of energy. She would crack it into water and read the egg, and she would be able to tell you what's going on.
What? From an egg?
From an egg.
Oh, that's neat.
She would tell you what was going on, and you would sit down with her usually at that point, and you would have a little heart to heart, and you would talk about what's going on. And sometimes this would be very healing for people. Yeah. But the idea is that these two things, taking the elements of the greenery of that plant life, sweeping away negativity and extracting it all with the egg, was kind of the practice that I grew up with. And I still do that same practice,
And what did you say it was called? Because you said it really fast and beautifully. And then I went, what?
So Olympia is what is referred to as this kind of cleanse.
Oh, Olympias.
And then usually they're performed by a curandera or a curandero, either male or female, but it's a person who works with these energies. Some curanderos are very much into herbs, and they're mostly herbal people. Some are more about the spirits and cleansing. Some people deal with cards and, divination and these kinds of things. But it's a culture that I grew up in, and it's very much mirroring the Catholic Church. And so, we have saints, that we utilize in this kind of practice. We light candles, certain things. There's rituals that can be done with candles and these kinds of things. And it always bridged Catholicism. They were always kind of met together. And so it's a practice, that I still practice to this day, and do that kind of work with folks, whenever they need it. And so either somebody will come to us, or we'll go to their home, or, go into a place of their business or whatever it is that they need energy moved around, and we cleanse the space, we cleanse the person, and we always talk about it. There's a little bit of a plática, a little class that we kind of, a little teaching that we'll get together and we'll share, and we'll figure out what's going on and how we can better the situation in the future.
Very nice. Wow. So how often do you do the cleansings, do you find?
You know what? I would say weekly we get these kinds of things in where, folks will want that in. A lot of folks are kind of on a yearly where they'll, they know they call in once a year and they'll get one of these, and that's just kind of their habit. But it's
check in.
Yeah. We also have a lot of family and friends that will be like, hey, it's time for Olympia. Can you fit me in? It's pretty common. Yeah.
I think I'm going to get one from you whenever I come to one of the events out there, because I'll be looking for you. You'll be like, I'm busy. And it's like, but help me. Because every time I'm still learning. So there's a lot that I'm learning as well. Like, I didn't even tell people I was a medium till my show. So I'm like, surprise. People that knew me for years. It's kind of like what you said as a child, as you know things, you see things. Yeah. And especially being empathic and things. So with cleansings, I've heard of people doing that. So is it what the person's comfortable with, or you just kind of go with the flow with what they need when they come in?
Yeah, so what I do is I always take notes. Before I ever see somebody, I have a page of things that the Spirit has given me, and I'll take all these notes and I will confirm them, make sure we're on the same page. And, Limpias, are done in a couple of different ways. Santeros do it in a way that I feel is, for a lot of people, invasive, where, it's without clothing and it's a little more brutal, and you're getting
not doing that.
Spit at you and smoked on you. And, it's a different process. Whereas kind of what I do is, nothing really touches you except the plant. I walk you through the whole thing. You get permission to, go everywhere, what you're getting into. And I think that's really important, because when you have these surprises, it's very hard for you to let go of something that you might be holding to. Definitely.
Do you do this after every tour as well? Since you said that something came home with you guys. So then now is it like a ritual?
So, what we'll do is, we'll just clean the space from time to time. It's not so much something we have to do, every time, but when we're feeling a little bit weird, when, it's always Oh, are you feeling sick? Okay, I think it's time for Olympia. That's kind of how we do it in our house is, are you feeling a little off? Okay, that's when it's time.
Very cool. And so the spirits guide you on that. They talk to you, they guide you.
It might even be a headache that guides me, but something guides me for sure, saying, hey, something's off here. What do we do?
Yeah. And Fred is also able to sense, whenever, this happens often where we're in bed and he'll tell me like, there's something here.
Man.
Something has come home with us. We need to take care of it. And then we have to go through that process.
Oh my gosh. So have you guys ever woken up and something is standing there?
No, it's usually right before we go to sleep.
No. Well, that's probably better.
And that's when it happens. Nothing's ever, at least not in our home.
Yeah,
one time in a hotel, I did have a spirit that was just kind of watching over us.
Oh, weird. Oh my gosh. That's creepy. It's like, I'm in the shower, man. You're like, either get in or get out. Get that spot in my back.
Right.
Man. So is there anything that, since you guys have so many years of experience, like you've seen ghosts, you know how to communicate, you have talent, and you have so much going on, is there anything that you're both afraid of? Anything that's like a nope?
I would say we're often afraid of people. Because we go into sometimes abandoned places, sometimes places that are a little bit sketchy, and you have to worry about, is there somebody who's in here that's just waiting for us,
right?
Or are there squatters in here that we have to worry about? And that's often what we're mostly concerned about whenever we're going to haunted locations, especially.
Oh, I agree.
I think, there was one location that is no longer open or no longer around that I would be really afraid of to go back to that was Yoakum Hospital. Not York, but Yoakum. They tore it down during the pandemic. I have, there's only one time that I've had a physical instance with a ghost where, I felt pain from a spirit. And that was there for sure.
Man.
And so I don't know if I would have ever wanted to go back there again. It was a very intense experience that lasted for days after.
No.
And so, I don't know if I'd go back. There's a case, Stephen has a location like that too, where, you want to.
Yeah, that's Goliad, Texas, the Presidio La Bahia in Goliad. It's an old mission that is really beautiful, and we were able to rent out the living quarters there. And when you do that, you get the entire mission to yourself. And so overnight, we got the mission to ourselves, and we investigated twice. The first time was just the two of us, and it was really uncomfortable. We felt like we were being watched the entire night. We hardly got any sleep. The next time we went was with a group of people for an investigation, and it was really intense. As soon as I started getting closer to the location, though, I started feeling really sick to my stomach.
Oh no!
And it got really worse and worse and worse, like a really intense pain. And I was not able to participate in the investigation. I was curled up in the ball the entire night.
Whoa, that bad?
Yeah, the next morning I'm still in pain, and I said, I think I got to go to the hospital. Like this is serious.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, and the nearest hospital was in Victoria, but I wanted to go back to San Antonio because I didn't
right.
I wanted to go back home. And so we drove back home, and finally we were able to get to a hospital, and it turns out that my appendix was about to burst.
Oh my God.
That happens to people all the time. It could have been a coincidence, but I
believe in coincidence.
Yeah, we found it really interesting that the pain started when we started getting closer to the location.
Exactly.
So I think that it's possible that I had a physical reaction to that location. And so that's one place that I would definitely think twice about going back and investigating again.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, I would be the same way. So my newest location that I'm scared of, it would be Yorktown. everybody in the whole group wants to go back for a tour. And I'm like, can I stay home? They're like, really? It was so much that happened. I saw a face that I haven't gotten out of my head that it was, but not like it was a person's face or a spirit, because that's just a person. That spirits don't scare me. This was like, it represented what would have been a face. It was their idea of a face. So something trying to create a human face, but it looked inhuman. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And I can't explain it. And all I know is everyone felt that it was there because it was, three of us breaking away from the group, like you said. And it appeared around the corner, but it was up at the top of the doorway. And a person is not usually that tall. And its eyes looked like, I can't even explain, almost like a lizard. It was strange. So that's when I left the building because I got physically sick. Same kind of thing that you said. Mm-hmm. So I was lucky that there was that big trash can out there. And I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to make it to this trash can. I was like, oh. So I wonder, how can a spirit physically affect us that way? What is your theory on that?
I mean, I think that energy is something that we can all be sensitive to. And, sometimes when we're thinking of it in terms of germs, we get a little bit of a germ kind of, and we don't have that immune system for it. We don't have that. And so that germ is able to multiply and able to wreak havoc on our body. And I think sometimes when we experience the paranormal in a way that is painful, maybe our emotional immune system's running out. Maybe, our spiritual immune system is wonky. There is maybe a chakra. Who knows? Things off there.
I like that. That's interesting. Spiritual immune system. I like that.
I think that's maybe what causes it. I think that sometimes there are just weird things that happen. Could we be so empathetic as humans that, Stephen responds to 500 some odd men being executed, almost 200 years before. Maybe, could, in the hospital, could I had a painful interaction there because other people had painful interactions there? Maybe.
Right.
And so I think that, I think we could look at our bodies of just like these divine instances of energy, and they process things very interestingly, just like a germ theory would, and how we look at germs.
That makes a lot of sense.
We often tell our guests the most important tool, the most important paranormal tool that you have is your body. And getting in tune with your body, getting in touch with your body is a great way to connect with the paranormal. But there's always, a little bit of a danger there as well. And you always have to protect yourself and know what your boundaries are, and know, the lengths that you'll need to go so that you can remain safe. And you won't have to worry about attachments and things like that.
How would you both recommend for people who are tourists that are coming in? Because I know a lot of tourists are going to be watching this and booking with you guys. So how would you recommend that they protect themselves? What can they do to protect themselves before their tour?
I think one is, it is probably a good idea to start off at a haunted location sober.
Right.
Agreed. That's the first thing. And, maybe you'll have some fun after. But I think it's always a good idea to start off that way. I think that it's a good idea to, make sure that you're not in a horrible mood. You haven't just been fighting. You haven't been, that you're able to really, truly enjoy yourself and enjoy what's going on. And, last of all, I think, be aware of your body. I think that's the most important thing, is that sometimes our body is telling us, don't do this. It's dumb. And sometimes we're just going to do it,
Yeah,
and I think
that's me.
just be aware of that body. It's talking to you, it's powerful. You know what to do.
Very cool. That is very good advice. So I know people who see this are going to appreciate that too, because I get asked that all the time, is if we have rituals. And I know some people, they have egg white powder. I've seen that. I've seen people that have sage oils. Some people, I say, whatever is your religious or spiritual belief, to try to pray on that and to hold that, because then it's whatever object you have. Some people have crystals. I have one right here. It's like, it's what you believe to put your energy in that too, I think, as well.
For sure.
So do you guys have anything new and exciting coming up?
What we are working on the second season of our podcast, Curious Travel. which is basically a travel guide to dark cities, and it's sharing dark things to do in those cities. And so we have that coming out this summer.
Yeah.
We are also, because of Curious Travels, we're trying to take people out to state parks and beautiful things like that and share stories of the paranormal, UFOs, cryptids, all that stuff. So we're doing our first haunted hike at Government Canyon, and it's already sold out, but we hope to offer another one soon. So
You're already booked out? No.
we are, but
you must offer.
Hopefully we'll offer another one soon. So we're exploring a little bit of that dark travel circuit right now. We just want to continue to share that with people, and we have some fun cities that we'll be sharing this summer with folks.
Yeah, we're actually in Houston right now because of our podcast. So we're working on that episode, the Houston episode of our podcast.
What? And I'm not far from you then. You should have told me. I can drive over to where you guys are. We're not that far. Hey, my goodness. As I say, text me after. Man, that is really exciting. I'm really glad that I found you guys. I mean, it's been like you kind of meet kindred spirits, you meet people that's into the same world, but you guys are so genuine, so knowledgeable. I mean, it's been incredible. So other people who want to find you and book with you, where can they find you guys?
Yeah, they can find us on our website, CuriousTwins.com. Also, social media, we're on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And then, just check us out on a tour. We have a couple of really big events that we have during the year. One is our Psychic and Spirit Fest that we host in May. And then also we have Paranormal Fest that we host in September. So those are our two largest annual events. And we really try to make it an event that we can bring the paranormal community together. And so those are fun events. We have vendors out. We are really excited about Psychic and Spirit Fest, which we have May 18th of this year. So that's a great way to come and get to know us and say hi.
Oh, yeah. Y'all have the Warren Museum items coming?
Yeah, so the Warren Traveling Occult Museum will be with us. The folks from the foundation will come bring that over and introduce the folks of Texas to it. So we're really excited about it.
Oh, that's, man, I can't wait. That's why I said I'm going to be, everyone says, you want to see the doll? I was like, yes, I want to see the doll. I want to see Annabelle, of course, because it's the closest I'm ever going to get. If anything happens to me, it's like, they're like, I told you so. But that is exciting. I am so glad you guys came on, and thank you for sharing all your stories. I hope everyone is looking up right now and booking, because I know you guys book out months in advance. I say start booking. If you miss one tour, they're going to have another. And I say take them all because, come back. Just fly back to San Antonio. Drive back to San Antonio. You got to see these guys. Well, thank you so much. And we are grateful to have you as our guest. And for everybody watching, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like and to subscribe. And don't forget to look at their podcast too, because they've got all the haunted goods. All right, so till next time, everybody.